Welcome to the underground, you rebel scum. This is the American Expat, and today I have gotten my hands on the lauded Olympus OM-1 35mm single-lens reflex camera. You know, people on the internet, they rave about this thing. It's supposed to be one of the best cameras there is. So today, we're going to see what all the hype is about. We're going to dig into this camera and take it out into the field to see how it performs taking photos. But first, let's grab a cup of coffee, and then we'll come back and dig into this camera and see what it's all about. Thanks for sticking with us. Boy, that coffee was a little hot. Before we get too far into the video, I do want to remind you that the like button does live down below this video. Maybe you could go down there and click on that like button. It would help us out quite a bit. I mean, it depends on if you like the video or not, but even if you don't, you want to give us a thumbs down, I mean, I won't complain. I'll take whatever you want to give me. And now, without further delay, let's go ahead and get into this camera. So, Olympus. It's a company you've probably heard of. They started off pretty early on making optical type equipment all the way back in 1919. But it was a little while later, they eventually moved into the SLR single lens reflex camera sort of market. And in 1972, they came up with the Olympus M, and they released the M1. But there was a problem. You see, there's this other camera company at that time. Some company called Leica. You may have heard of them. Well, they had their own M1 camera, and they didn't like this upstart from Japan, you know, taking their name. So they changed it to OM1, and yeah, I guess that problem went away. And we got this awesome camera. So you may be wondering, why would they want to put that M on there, knowing that Leica, the famous camera company, I do know about Leica, I was just joking earlier. Why would they put that M on there, knowing that this M1 camera was already out there and asking for... Well, the M actually stands for Maitani, as in Yoshihisa Maitani, and I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering that. That's the guy that created the camera, the OM1 I'm talking, not the Leica thing. But I guess they wanted to immortalize his name or something. You know, I don't know. It's a good camera, though. I mean, they're known for producing incredible results, especially when you consider the compact size of the camera. Now, one thing I want to emphasize here is that this camera is different. If you've used other SLRs, this one is going to be confusing and different. Everything on it is different. So, you know, it turns out that the shutter speed control is in the spot where you would normally find the aperture ring. That's right, down there where the lens is. The aperture control is all the way at the front of the lens, and just behind that is the focus ring. The knob on the top doesn't do any of that. It's just where you set the film speed. Yeah, this thing is different, and that can get confusing when you're out there taking photos. Hopefully we don't run into that problem. I mean, normally, like I said, you know, other cameras, if I picked up a Nikon, I would know intuitively where the aperture controls are going to be, where all the stuff is at. I wouldn't have to be like, what do I do here? I mean, even if all I had ever shot before was a Minolta camera, I would still know basically where it was going to be. But that's not the case here. Everything is different. So remember that if you happen to get one of these and you're used to another camera, you're going to have to look at it and see where... Now, I've told you where they are, but, you know, remembering when you're actually out in the field, that's an entirely different story. But anyway, I have managed to already load this up with Ektar 100 film, which is quickly becoming my favorite film. So I think it's time that we head out into the field and see what this thing can do. For this first set, I had intended to photograph the Dingus Tunnel, which is supposed to be haunted. Unfortunately, the photos did not work. But we still get to drive through this creepy tunnel to go see a lake. The video is not frozen. It's just that there's only room for one car. So you have to wait for them to travel through the mile-long creepy tunnel before starting on your own way. Obviously, this was not built with cars in mind. It was originally a rail tunnel. The area has a history of outlaw activity, and there are even tales of outlaws escaping on handcarts through this tunnel. Is it really haunted? I don't know. Would a ghost decide to hang out in a tunnel? Maybe it's just the shape. It reminds me of a subway tunnel. It is certainly long and narrow, not an advisable place for anyone who is claustrophobic. Can you imagine walking through this tunnel? Would you want to spend 15 to 20 minutes in this place? It's taking us long enough to drive through. I keep thinking I'm going to run out of time to talk about things, but the end never comes. Maybe this is part of the haunting. Space and time is warped in this place. But at last, we are reaching the end. See? Safe and sound. I'm going to have to drive back through this thing when I leave. And here we are at Laurel Lake. I have to say I'm really liking this camera and lens. The lens is the Olympus Zuko 50mm f1.8. The colors produced are a combination of the film and the lens, but I think I can say this is especially nice since I've used the same film with many different lenses. Our next destination is Thurmond, West Virginia. In keeping with the unintended theme of this photographic journey, it is a ghost town, only accessible by train or a one-lane bridge. Before going further, though, I need caffeine and a photo to remember this can of Java Monster. Those colors are amazing. The drive there is pretty. The first part of this is on I-64 from Charleston. It's no wonder they charge a toll to use it. Can't get the pretty view without, paying some extra money. We're almost to Thurmond now, but there are waterfalls along the way, like this one. Not the best photo. Ektar 100 is really meant for bright sunlight. And here we are on the bridge into Thurmond, West Virginia. This little ghost town has become a popular subject over the last few years on YouTube. There are a few channels that focus on Appalachia that have, paid visits here. I don't know why, but the rail depot here is still active. Amtrak stops here to drop off and load passengers. Let's get a couple of shots of the bridge. I'm really liking the colors. That Ektar Kodak stuff is pretty good for this sort of lighting. On the bridge, cliche? I don't know. Looked interesting. Here is the station. I still find it amazing that trains still stop here. Do you think it's for the national parks workers? Or is it just popular enough of a travel destination that they have reason to keep it open even though the town is gone? Speaking of the town, the main street is just some railroad tracks. Obviously, this was a railroad town. Some of it reminds me of like Roman ruins or something like I've seen in Europe. Here are some city streets. Out of focus. Too bad, because the colors were really nice. While I was filming, there were no trains, but I did manage to snap some shots of an Amtrak train that stopped in. I really love these colors. The grain with this film is fine enough that you don't even notice it. Here's the local bank, or at least what's left of it. The door needs some work. This abandoned hulk is from the days of steam power. Locomotives would pull under this thing and load up on coal. It's really quiet here. It's hard to believe there used to be population here. Here's where some of them lived. Interesting lens flare. And we're back, finally. What did you think? How did the camera perform? I mean, I've used a few of these old SLRs and old lenses, and I have to say I am quite impressed with how this did. The colors, of course, like I said earlier in the video, is a combination of the lens and the film that we were using, but I typically use the Ektar 100 stuff in all of them, so I can say this is pretty good. It definitely is worth all the hype that people are saying. Yeah, it's a nice camera, and it was designed as a professional camera. So if you're looking at getting one of these, if you can get a deal on one of these cameras, pick it up. It's going to perform well. I mean, assuming that it's all functional and clean and all of that stuff. But it's not that hard to clean them up if you do get one that has a little bit of dirt on it. Definitely a good camera to get. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments, if you thought the pictures turned out all right. And I guess we'll end it there. I'll see you guys in the next one. ไปพะวงหลงเฝ้าสาวเจ้าบางประกงทางห้วยงงหลงเกิน
ำจำพรากจาก